This episode is sponsored by my Patreon, because I have one. You too can support on Patreon to keep this podcast going and every other video I do. If you get a $5 membership or up, you can get into the members only Discord. Ooh, great, cool. Okay, on with the episode. Welcome to Conversations with You, a brand new podcast I've started where I have conversations with you, people in my audience or people who know I exist. This is the very first episode, so we'll see how it goes. Fingers crossed. Mel, how you doing? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, man.
Hello, how's it going?
Yeah, good. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. And it's nice on the first episode.
Yeah, very first episode. I should probably air this one first now that I've exposed that the recording is the first recording. I have a couple other ones lined up this week, but I think you got it. You're the one. You're our guinea pig. So you better not blow this for me.
Behave myself and be interesting,
yeah,
or else.
Yes, or else. So you give us a little backstory on you as a human being. You said you're from Scotland, right?
Yeah, so I am 35 years old. I was born in Scotland in a place called Dundee. I lived there, well, most of my life, and then things happened, events occurred, and then I ended up in Wales. So I live in Wales now. I've been here for 14 years. I met my wife-to-be down here just coming up 11 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and then after I met her, I was like, well, that's it. I'm here now. This is home.
Is she Welsh?
And, yeah, she's Welsh. So
that's cool.
We live on the borders of Wales, so we're very much she's very much mid-Welsh.
What does Wales touch border-wise? Is it England, obviously,
England.
Right? It's just England. Okay.
Just England.
And then the ocean, I'm guessing?
England and the ocean,
yeah.
So basically, where I am in the country, there are parts of, well, I can drive 15 minutes and be in England. So if I wanted to, I could stand on the border, like 1 foot on Wales, 1 foot on England.
Oh, that's cool.
Like, be multi-country at the same time.
International man.
International man.
How far from London are you?
Oh, I'm like, what's your transport route? Are you going train or car or?
Car, I guess.
Wait a minute. I am looking at maps. Last time I drove it, I think it was like quite a few hours. Give me a minute. Right, so for me at London, 3 hours and 45 minutes.
Oh, that's not bad.
Car.
That's like me driving to Las Vegas from LA here. So that's like a day trip. That's cool.
Yeah, you can make it in a day, but then you just don't drive in London. You visited London, Nathan.
Yeah,
you just do not drive in London.
Driving in London is not many people do it. My brother, he's in England right now. He's in Cornwall as we speak, and he's driven a few times in England, and he said it's like a nightmare. So, yeah. I mean, it's just any city, most cities, especially in a city you're not used to, when you guys have the steering wheels on the wrong side, would as an American would make it confusing.
You just opened a can of worms there.
So where are the steering wheels on the left? What countries? Scotland as well, or just Wales? And is Wales like that too? And England, the whole UK?
On the left.
On the left.
Our steering wheel's on the right. So when I get in the car, I climb in the right hand side if it was facing the rear of the car. Or are you on about frontwards? Looking at the front of the car would be left. But yeah, so
well, yeah, I guess when you're
Wales,
when you're in the car, it's on the right.
And Ireland as well. It's not until you go across to France that people start swapping the side of the steering wheels. So as soon as you hit France, that's it. Your steering wheel's on the other side of the car, which is interesting. I don't actually know how many countries have the steering wheel on the same side of cars the car as we do.
Yeah, I think you guys, Japan, because Japan is the same as us. It's on the left side.
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe it's just, is Australia, do they drive on the left?
We drive on the left. There's 64 countries.
Wow.
I'm not going to go through that list.
Yeah.
Some background context.
Give me the top three.
Top three: Antigua, Barbuda, Australia.
Australia is one of them. Okay.
Yeah,
I guess that's because
that's left-hand drive.
A lot of people come from, well, in the old days, I guess everyone came from England to Australia, besides the native people, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So
I believe so. Yeah.
You brought your cars with you.
I guess this could end up just being a can you Google that stream?
Yeah. That's what this episode is. Can you
Well,
tell me things I don't want to Google? That's what I do on
welcome
live
to the
streams.
episode.
I'm sure it's annoying as an audience member, but I always say
No,
like, chat, what's this? And then I basically just make people look things up for me, and when I could just search myself. But
I
you
think
know,
it's funny when you do that because you got to bear in mind. So, like, obviously, as a member of the audience, so I like the YouTube streams because, like, the long ones because of the thumbnails.
yeah. Oh my gosh, that's right. You are so everyone in the audience listening. Mel here is a legend for giving me amazing thumbnails when I do YouTube live streams. We would update them on the long streams, like every couple hours. We'd make a new thumbnail just to bring new people in and mix it up, and they're so funny. Some of the things, the bad spelling and the attempts to make me like look like a sexy woman, so funny. I love those thumbnails. You're a legend for all those. Thank you.
The thing is, I like that in the YouTube and can you search YouTube, search Google for that
And so
because
you're just
it
googling
brings
images.
it brings an element of hey, I'm involved.
Oh yeah. Well, you were a major part of those streams because everyone loved those thumbnails. So
Yeah, they were brutal.
thank
I
you, thank
liked
you.
them. That was fun.
And that's the thing. Like the audience is like 50% of any stream, in my opinion, because if it wasn't for them, there would be no stream. It'd just be a guy sitting there alone. Like it's no different with the
100%.
camera being off or on, you know. So with the
100%.
chat there, they make it the show. It's just like watching a live television show. You need the live studio audience for some of them, you know. So yeah.
100%. Plus the lic-casino.com. That's on my arm.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're the only
You're
other.
so forgetful.
Oh my god, dude, I forget everything. This is so funny. So anyone in the audience who doesn't know this, I used to do YouTube live streams where the chat spam would appear, like a website advertisement, like check out whatever.com, and it would spam it a ton. It was a big thing that happened a lot on YouTube, and I loved it. A lot of people would try to ban those accounts. I would mod them, I'd click them, and it gives them the blue wrench. So technically, when you mod someone on a YouTube stream, they have the ability to kick people out or ban people or mute people. So I was doing that to these spam accounts, LIC Casino, webcams.net, and I eventually ended up getting them tattooed on my body. LIC Casino is tattooed on me. And Mel here is the only other person to also have the LIC Casino tattoo. So we have two matching spam website tattoos. That's so funny.
It happened because it was that massive live stream. You went, right, if we hit a goal here, I'm gonna do something stupid. And I remember hitting that goal, and chat was like, get that tattooed, get that tattooed, get that tattooed. And I remember the mods that I was messaging. I was like, hey, look, tell him to get the tattoo. I'll get the tattoo done as well. If he gets that tattoo, I will get it done. And I tend not to make promises I won't keep. So I went to a guy local to me, and I was like, hey, I need this. I didn't even ask him to design it or anything. I went my design software, just threw it together. threw it together. Mine's in Helvetica. Obviously, for any graphic designer there.
Yeah.
Helvetica with a fire emoji, thumbs up emoji, and I was like, put that on me. But yeah, did you have any other questions lined up?
Yeah, so I kind of just want to like, so this what I'm thinking for these episodes is just kind of like just here, you know. I like to like meet people and talk to people like on the street, and I've had so many interesting conversations with people I'll just never see again, like in Las Vegas on the street, just some guy I talked to for like 2 minutes, you know. And I always think like, man, I bet you there's so much interesting stuff that person can tell me. And now I feel like I have this opportunity and access to like people I'd never necessarily meet, maybe. So it's just kind of like I kind of just want to, I don't know, just ask everything and anything and everything. I guess, like, what was your first job that you ever had?
It was the local Chinese restaurant that served the whole community, to be honest. There was two, I remember vividly. I went to school with the other Chinese restaurant. I went to school with their son. His name was Raymond. He was awesome. He and I used to play Pokemon together.
Oh, that's
but
cool.
He would always cheat. So I don't know if you remember the Pokemon figures that came out.
I do. I think so.
Like they were like almost hard plastic but kind of bendy.
Yeah.
So kind of like cheap vinyl. But he would always cheat. So we'd play with these like figures. And I never liked him. And then I got a job working at the Chinese restaurant that was opposing to his parents. So everyone became a competition with him.
Oh, so you guys were opposing restaurants.
Yeah, for no good reason. But I got my first job there. And it was honestly hilarious. I later went on in years to come to go work in another Chinese restaurant where the owner was lovely. Her name was Lucy, and I would have food. Because you got a staff meal with work, and Lucy would tell me I'm too fat, and then I
Oh
lost
no.
weight. I lost weight, and then Lucy told me I was too skinny, and then I put some weight on. She told me not to lose any more weight and not to gain any more weight because I was the right size now, so I need to stay that size.
And
Little
how
does
old were
Lucy
you at
know,
this point?
uh, 20,
Okay.
like 19, 20, because like it was one of those. It's like obviously by that point, 19, 20, all your baby fat's gone, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So you can no longer say it's just baby fat. I'm gonna lose it. No, I was a chunky boy, and then I hit like 21, 22, and I hit the gym and stuff like that, and because it's at that age you're trying to impress the ladies, isn't it?
Yeah, trying to impress
And,
Lucy.
trying to impress Lucy. And, yeah, so I like lost weight, and it was just like, you've lost too much weight now. You need to put more weight on. And I was like, oh, there's no pleasing that woman. She was lovely though, honestly. You learn so much working in Chinese restaurants, which was weird. Never
Wow.
thought that. That was my first job.
That's cool. That's a good one. A good story. I'm very interested in people's first jobs. Mine was at a grocery store, just bagging groceries, so pretty simple.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Do you know something? We don't do that over here. Like
You,
that's not a thing.
you
that's
never
happened
did
to
it, not
me.
even like in the 80s or something? People
Not as far
always
as I'm aware,
bagged their own
'cause
groceries?
bear in mind, I was born like in the 80s, so I was born late 80s. So my
Hmm.
first real memories were probably like mid to early 90s. And my first memories are of like water fights with water pistols.
Hmm.
Um, Thinking about it now,
Did you guys ever have
it's not very often.
did you have the Super Soaker over there?
Yeah, hell yes, we had the Super Soaker, but I never
Okay.
had one because it was too expensive. And
Yeah, yeah.
I remember my friend David, he had one, and I always remember David would come out and he would just like annihilate everybody in this water fight. And we'd have there was a shop in our town called Dennis's
Hmm.
because it was run by a gentleman called Dennis.
Yeah, makes sense.
And yeah, Dennis's would sell these like off-brand cheap water pistols. So you would have like you would have those, but they were real cheap. So like you could buy
Hmm.
them with your pocket money, and we would have loads of those like pre-filled in buckets. So when like the time came for like the water fight to kick off proper, you were like boom, 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 just pull one out when you like ran out one. It was like some serious like Terminator stuff and things
Yeah.
like that. It was pretty cool. But yeah, we had the Super Soakers. Just,
Okay.
yeah,
I
one
wasn't
of
sure if
those.
that went international or not. That was like a game changer when that came out because like squirt guns put out such little squirts, originally. And then that came out. It was like a hose. It was just a portable hose. You could just
Yeah.
soak your friends. I loved those. Those guns were cool. I think they made a little brief comeback recently. They tried to like re-release them a couple years ago. I have a faint memory of that. But yeah, I loved those. Squirt guns were a super 80s, 90s thing, in my opinion. I don't know if
I
kids still
think
use those or use sprinklers, like out in the front lawn. I think everyone's just inside on, playing video games now, which
Fortnite. Nathan,
Fortnite.
it's all Fortnite. It's all Fortnite, Nathan. We're
Yeah,
old now,
it's true.
Nathan. It's
Fortnite and
Fortnite.
Minecraft. I mean, that's what I play. I'm 42 and I'm now
I
playing
mean,
them.
you can't say anything about anything old here, right? Because last year you were doing Pokemon cards, right? Now,
Hmm.
I played Pokemon cards as a kid. I've got Pikachu tattooed on my arm. I'm a massive Pokemon fan, as always have been.
Nice.
And then watching somebody I like on YouTube being like, I don't care. I like this. This is cool. I enjoy it. I picked up Pokemon cards again. And it came at like a perfect time because I've got a friend who's a bit poorly at the minute. And with him, he's kind of at home a lot. So it's like, you know what, let's find something for you to do. So we picked up Pokemon cards again. And now I am six or seven A4 binders into a collection.
Oh, wow.
Which you kind of push for it. You
Yeah.
kind of push that right in there, my man.
I remember that. That was when, like a year and a half ago,
Yeah.
almost 2 years ago, I started Pokemon for the very first time, playing the Game Boy games on stream and collecting the cards and opening packs on stream. I was like, I'm gonna do both. I never played anything Pokemon. And barely ever touched the games. I think I for like 10 seconds played a Game Boy Pokemon game, and I was like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go for it. And I remember you being in there and. A lot of people who were like, obviously, like a lot of people have played Pokemon and know it very well from their youth. I had no idea about any of it, and I will say, coming out of it now, I like the cards. I played my first physical game of the card game with Aaron from the Grumps on tour. last year. I'm going to do that again in a few weeks when I go back on tour. I'll be playing some more Pokemon, and that was like that is fun playing the game. I really like the card game, and I really like the Game Boy games. What I walked away with was, I think I like the Game Boy games a little more, and there was a specific what was it? It was the Game Boy Advance games. Those are my favorite. Like originals were cool. I don't like the Switch. I kind of like the DS games, but I think Game Boy Advance was like, I forget which titles there were, but those were like the ones
you had
for me.
you had the Leaf Green and the I can't remember the titles. Give me a minute. I'm
I
going to
have
Google
them.
that again.
I have them right here. Oh yeah, Emerald and Chapter Red. Oh, is that a mod? I don't remember. I got a couple here, but the Game Boy Advance ones I'm really into. I just think the graphics are really good, and I like the backgrounds behind when you're in a battle. It's like real specific things, but like I liked the way the colors and the backgrounds look behind the Pokemon when you're in a battle. And then on the Switch, not the DS ones, I played that with Aaron on tour. Those I didn't like the background art. It was just kind of like this fogged out kind of generic green color, and it was like less interesting and vibrant to me. And I was like, nah, I don't like this anymore. But yeah, I'm a fan now. I am happy I finally started playing those games that I should have played thousands of years ago, but now I'm a fan.
I'm looking at the GBA titles now. You got Ruby, Sapphire, Leaf Green, Fire Red, and Emerald. So that's your 5. So your Fire Red version.
Yeah.
So if you've got Chapter Red, it's probably
this
mod.
is Red Chapter. I think it is a mod because the case feels a little weird. I think it was like your character looks different or something, and all the Pokemon are slightly different. But yeah, Emerald, I have that right here. This one I remember being the one. Crystal was the first one I think I ever played on stream. My friend Mickey, she's super Pokemon aficionado, and she said Crystal's the best one. That's her favorite one. That was on original Game Boy, I think. Possibly.
Which one? Crystal.
Yeah, was it Crystal? Oh no, that was Game Boy Color, I think.
Yeah.
And then Silver was Game Boy. I don't know. There's too many, man. And I'm colorblind also, so it's like I don't know.
Oh, I'm partially colorblind.
Oh, are you? Interesting.
Yeah, partially. So I've got Deuteranopia.
What colors are hard for you to see?
Give me a minute. I'll get the color chart up.
Because I think what mine is if I remember correctly, it's red green is the type of color blindness I have, but every color is like weird and confusing for me.
Oh yeah, I have got the same thing. So the Deuteranopia, this is where I'm like, I can't see and I can't see them, so it doesn't matter. Deuteranopia, I know I struggle between red and brown, like big style. We found this out when I tried to paint some trees, like tree trunks, green as a kid, and everybody made fun of me because I
had the same problem. I
couldn't tell.
Yeah.
So mine's is blues into purples. I struggle with
same
yellows
thing.
into greens, reds into browns. I can kind of make out orange. So I can make out orange, but only on like the lighter side. Which is so, you know how everyone about the thumbnails are like every thumbnail you get from every thumbnail I've ever drawn up for the stream, it's always super bright colors, and the reason for that is because I can't see them otherwise. So like, you know, right, that like too sexy, too sexy, as Keith would say it. When I write, it was like too sexy. The reason I write it like that and put in that bright pink, like that neon pink font, is because I can clearly see that.
That's how it is. I'm the exact same thing. Like all the same colors blur together, and I love neon colors. I like react very big, and because I recognize them. That's why I do a lot of stuff that's like bright colored. Bright yellow is like my favorite color because it's like I see it. You know, otherwise it looks like muddy. Like regular yellow looks like muddy. Well, I guess yellow is always kind of neon, but like there's versions of yellow I see that I'm like, I can't tell if that's like a green or an orange. It's hard to tell. But yeah, I think I have a similar color blindness to you.
So like this conversation that you and I are having now, because obviously this is like even just the YouTube stuff for yourself, it's been like 12 years, you know what I mean? And then it just prompts like nostalgia, even bringing like that Super Soaker. It's like, you know what, I'm thinking about things I haven't thought about in years, which is pretty cool, to be honest. But
yeah. That's what my brother have a lot of like long conversations here at the house, and we end up just talking about things I'd never thought I don't think about. Like, you remember, I don't know if you ever did this with your parents, but there was like a game sometimes you'd play. My dad used to do this thing with us where we'd sit on his knees and he'd be bouncing his knees, and you never knew when he was going to open his legs. So we'd drop, we'd fall to the ground.
Yes.
And it was such a nerve-wracking thing. I thought of that when I was talking. I was like, oh my gosh, remember when Dad used to play the game with us? And we didn't know when we were going to drop, and the anticipation was like, you're just going crazy, like giggling. So you knew you were going to be falling at some second. You just didn't know when. So I remember playing that. And then I remember this other game where he'd put us up on his feet, and he'd lay on his back, and your stomach would go on his feet, and he'd hold his hands, and he'd fly you like an airplane, and then like bounce you around in the sky.
Right.
And I loved those games. I was thinking, oh my gosh, I want to like play that now. It was just kind of like I hadn't thought about that in like 20 years, and
It was
it just came out.
Did you ever do the thing where you sat on your old man's foot and then you grabbed hold of his leg and he just walked with you?
Oh yeah, we always did that for sure.
Yeah, that was amazing, man.
I remember that. This is a little bit weird and kind of gross, but when I was little and I couldn't wipe my own butt and we'd go to the bathroom in public, I remember my dad would have to like wipe my butt because I was like, 5 years old or 4 years old. And I remembered having to put my hands on his shoes. He always said, put your hands on my shoes, because he didn't want my hands touching the floor of the bathroom. Yeah. That is what you just remind me of.
I'm not going to say names. I'm not going to say names, but one of my little brothers, so I've got two little brothers. One of my little brothers, right, so he wouldn't go to the toilet because he was scared of the toilet. I'm going to make sure, if this ends up in the podcast, I'm going to make sure he listens to it. He wouldn't go to the toilet. And the reason he wouldn't go to the toilet is he was scared of the toilet because there was a monster in the toilet. So my dad used to have to make monster faces at him to make him go to the toilet because he would laugh so hard that the inevitable would happen.
Wait, so he would scare the poop out of him?
He'd basically make like silly monster faces, or what called monster faces. Like as adults, we'd like stick our tongue out and be like, yeah. Things like that. So we do that to make my little brother laugh, and then inevitably
he'd have to go to the bathroom.
Scare the poop out of him, you know what I mean? Or he'd laugh the poop out of him.
Yeah,
which is
that's funny.
Hilarious when I think about it now. I haven't thought about that in years.
So he thought monsters were in the toilet.
Yeah, he thought monsters were in the toilet.
That makes sense. Get him. Yeah,
so
I can see that.
my dad had to do that, and I remember my dad telling me this, and he was like, "Yeah." Obviously, you don't know that. It's like, I know that now.
That's funny. Were you scared of monsters or anything like that when you were little? Did you have like the fear of the closets or under your bed or anything like that?
I only ever had one fear of a monster, and it was Frankenstein's monster, because I read Frankenstein when I was a kid, which maybe wasn't a good idea. And I remember, even to this day, a vivid nightmare of Frankenstein's monster, right? And I woke up, and I'd put my dressing gown at the end of my bed when I got into bed. And I woke up from the nightmare, and I was paralyzed with fear because I swore, like, when I was waking up, I just saw a shadow of my dressing gown, not thinking because I'd been woken up. And I was young. I remember being like, I would say I was in this room, but you didn't, like, you weren't there when I was a kid. I was in like a room my mum's house that I was in when I was young, and I woke up and I started screaming for my mum because I was terrified that Frankenstein's monster was at the end of bed waiting for me.
Wow.
I was like real young. I'd scared myself of Frankenstein.
That's funny. Yeah, your imagination just goes wild. That even like it's crazy. As an adult in my 40s, I still get scared after watching a scary movie. You just think like, oh, is someone looking in my window? Is someone like watching me? Is there something? I get the thoughts of like something under my bed still, and I have to like jump to the bed. I kind of like do a big step because I don't want it to like grab me right before I'm going into the bed. And I'm thinking, I know this is ridiculous, but I have to still do it just in case. It's like the imagination is so powerful, it will convince you of things.
With you saying about that, you've watched MatPat and you've watched Nexpo, right?
Yep.
Right, so Nexpo, some of the stories he do, and MatPat, when MatPat does his Five Nights at Freddy's videos, there was an instance, probably beginning of the year, like January time this year, because I remember being, where was I? I was in Kent. I was working in Kent. I was working down there, and I was in this really creepy hotel. I think I sent you a video of it. It was one that had like the really creepy stained glass windows.
Oh yeah, this is when I was doing the grave stories.
Yeah, I was like, hey, look, this is so eerie, and it was like that hotel itself was just so creepy. There was nothing inherently creepy about it. Well, the creepiest thing was that like at 10 o'clock, everything would shut down, and all the doors would lock, all of the hall lights would go off, and there was one night porter in there, and the night porter would spend his entire night on his phone watching YouTube or playing games, and you kind of just had free roam in these really creepy hallways, like. Utterly creepy, and I went, all right, I'm going to go back to my room, and I'm going to chill in the room for the rest of the evening. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to catch up on catch up on next week's video. I can't remember which video it was. There was a series. It was the one with the animals in it. Wait a minute, I'll find it for you now, so I know which one I'm on about. The Walton Files. It was the Walton Files.
Okay.
And I was also watching the Five Nights at Freddy stuff, and I was watching that. I was just like scaring myself.
Yep.
By watching that, and I was absolutely adamant something was about to come through my door at any point.
Yeah,
I'm not inherently scared of things, but
bad place to. His videos are really creepy too, because it's like all real life stuff that has happened, and his voiceover is so good, and it just gets your brain going, and you're in like a unusual situation in a weird place. It's like that was the ultimate time to get scared for you, being there watching that.
I was like, yeah, I'm done. So yeah, it was interesting. But obviously I'm quite happily chatting stuff. But did you have any other questions you wanted to ask that you pre-scripted? Because obviously I want to make sure and answer any questions you've actually got written down.
No, I haven't scripted anything. The whole plan for these is just kind of have a fluid conversation, just chat and talk about whatever comes up, and try to make it like just kind of like a phone call, like just
I like that.
Something. I'm sure there might be things. I just hearing stories from you, like in your youth in Scotland, it was interesting enough for me. That's like kind of what I'm hoping to like hear. I assumed you as a person talking to you in the past would be interesting because of the, just the conversations we've had. And the main thing is I just want to hear people just talk and like,
oh God,
and just go off. So
you would not have wanted to met me when I was younger. So how you said about those kids that made fun of your bald spot in Edinburgh. I would probably be worse. I probably would have like lobbed rocks at your bald spot. I was a bad kid, man. So
you were a bully kid.
I wasn't a bully. No. So I was bullied a lot as a child, like a lot. And I had a couple of real prime bullies. I'm not going to say names because a couple of my bullies went on to be famous.
Interesting.
Which was weird.
Wow.
And one of them actually got in touch with me as an older person and apologized to me and booked me in for some work. So I did logo design for him and stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome, and I got an apology, and as an adult, I just turned around, I'm not going to swear, but excuse the language, I just turned around and went, look, why were you such a prick when you were a kid? Like, there was no need for that. Like, I was going through a hard time as a kid, didn't have the best upbringing. You were going through a hard time at home. Obviously, you didn't have the best upbringing, so why were you such a prick? Like, I mean, if you talked to me as a kid, you would have known that. So I was really bullied as a kid. I think now as an adult I can laugh at this. I think the standout moment for me was getting grabbed by three kids, much bigger than me because I was scrawny. I was a real scrawny kid. Like three kids much bigger than me, and they basically just picked me up and threw me probably about 15 foot over a wall into like an entire patch of nettles.
Oh gosh.
So I had to like and I was in gym shorts, so we just finished sports. And I got like launched over that. So like I was proper bullied as a kid, and I think on account of that, I did what every kid does when they try and express themselves. They like get cocky, don't they? You know what I mean? And I was like cocky with everybody in the worst way possible. So I think if you'd met me as a kid, even as like, hey, let's hang out, I think you would have looked at me and gone, I don't want to be near you. But
yeah, I mean, you're lashing out because it was your way to like sort of get back and also like be tough to defend yourself. If you had this tough front, you probably felt safer, and would mess with you.
100%. But I think that's all part of growing up, and I think when you're an adult, you can look back on that and be like, hey, look, this is what happened as a kid, and this is me as an adult. And I look back at it and like, how could I have ever behaved the way I did? Because I probably would have been one of those nice bald spot, mate. When you came over and said, hey, I know Belle Delphine, I probably would have turned around and gone, well, I know the Queen, and I would have just been
believed it.
Yeah, I'd have just been like, I would have just called you out, like, I don't care, like, it doesn't matter. But the thing is, in all honesty, like, I think any kid who's grown up kind of been bullied, I think most of them do lash out because they don't know what to do otherwise.
Yeah.
Like, I think every kid grows up like that. But what I will say, with on a lighter note, I developed an obsession with video games because of it. Even at 35, I still adore video games.
Like I think in some way most people find them, now, especially nowadays, whatever it
It's
was.
an
But like,
escape, isn't it?
it's definitely an escape for
I
sure.
saw a wonderful video. So this is the thing with social media. So I know, obviously, it does get sometimes it gets a bad rap depending on who's posting what. But I saw this wonderful video some time ago. I can't remember. It was an animation, and I can't remember who it was that did it. But it was this kid playing video games, and on the video game, it was like, "Great job, you did so good." And then it showed you outside of the world of the video game that he was in, and it was like he was getting told he sucked at school, and he was getting told he sucked at this, and it was like it's the escapism, isn't it? And I think it's such a nice thing.
The video game's the one thing that tells him he's doing well, and like,
yeah, you did great. I
congratulations.
can't
Yeah.
even find the animation because, like, I think it'd make like a nice bit of still footage.
Yeah.
Give me a minute.
And I imagine nowadays too, it's probably even harder for kids because a lot of kids are inside and they're not making friends. At least when you're outside in the 80s and 90s, you were making friends, also making enemies and people getting picked on. But now it's like the friends kids are making, they probably have never met, they never even seen them. So it's like how do you form a real friendship with just a voice, or a web shot or whatever?
The thing is, I think we're part. Like we came because obviously it's like there is a little bit of an age gap between us, but we saw the internet and we saw the internet for what it was. Do you remember MSN, for example?
Oh yeah,
So MSN
yeah.
Messenger. And I remember MSN Messenger, and that was our first connectivity to people. That was like, we know these people; they are our friends.
It's interesting. I've been watching so many movies about. I just watched the Well, it's not a documentary, but like the movie on BlackBerry. It's an Apple TV movie. They just put out this movie all about like how the BlackBerry started. And I watched the Beanie Babies movie also on Apple TV, and it's all about like when those things started. And it's interesting how I think like early 2000s, 2002, 5, 7, all that. I feel like that was like not long ago. That was like just, it just happened. But it really wasn't, because it's like, oh, that was 20 years ago now, which is so crazy because I remember the BlackBerry is like, isn't that still a thing? I'm thinking. And then it's like 1996 when it came out. I was like, oh. Okay, that was way longer ago. So like the mid to late 90s connecting into like the mid early 2000s was a long time ago. And it's just, what I'm trying to say is it's just surprising me how retro and how long ago the early 2000s were. And I thought that was like just happened.
You've got to bear in mind. So like I at my age now, right? I didn't age past 22. Like in my head, I am still 22.
It's interesting you say that because I feel the same thing happened to me at 19. I feel like 19 is when I stopped, and now I've been 19 forever. But that's something about that year was like a very pivotal year for me. I loved being 19. It was a good year, and all the stuff I did at 19, I still do. That's like my favorite sort of genre. Dreamcast is my favorite. I was 18. I graduated high school the year Dreamcast came out, and I think around that time is where I stopped growing in my brain.
I think actually, wait a minute, while we're on it, I'm gonna pop onto my Insta real quick. I think while I'm on about my 20s, I think you and I had our first ever like internet anything in those years. Give me a minute. It was a beach resort thing. And when we went away to this beach resort thing, I remember going to this arcade, and in that arcade, I was like, "Hey, that's cool." And I was watching loads of your stuff with Tim, and I was like, "That Nathan would like that." And I added you on Instagram, and I remember that years ago, and you were like, "Hey, that's cool." And I remember getting a like and a comment on it. I was like, "Yeah, that's cool, man."
Nice.
I appreciate that. That's cool. You took
pleasure.
the time to look at it.
I look at everything. It's funny when people know like the dad character likes and hearts every comment. It's actually me hearting everyone, reading everyone, clicking it with my finger. People think I use like some app or a hack. I read every comment on everything. And that is the reason why I've recently started getting off social media, because when I do something, I go too far with it. I go real crazy with it, and I get like addicted to completing it as if it's something I can complete. It's just like social media. It's just reading comments, or it's like I don't need to do that, but I do. So now I'm like pretty much, I don't use Twitter at all anymore. I got off Facebook long ago, and Instagram I'm sort of fading off of it. My Discord is just the members only now, because like I can't put myself in the situation where I'll just be obsessed with staring at a screen. You've
but
got
to have a life beyond that.
I'm sure I liked that comment and wrote back to you, because I just don't not look at it at all. But now I'm trying to not look at it. So Anyone in the future, sorry if I don't like your comment, but I'm trying to cut myself off for my own mental health, and so I get more done. Like I can do more
But
if I'm
the
not
thing
this.
is, got to bear in mind my conversations with you prior to this. So like obviously any by me being conversing before this, obviously by the internet, it's always been, hey, this is going on Discord. Let's chat on Discord, and it's always been in the public group, or it's been like, here's the thumbnails, or you being like, hey, I'm struggling to get this done, and I'm like, hey man, look, if you need a hand editing video, if you need a hand with this, shout me, put it in a Dropbox, and I'll download it, chuck an edit together. So like it's one of those. It's nice to hear you saying, "Look, I'm giving up social media to get a bit more of my life back," because I know as a matter of fact that we were speaking about earlier. Like, if you're going to do something, you do it full time because that's where the revenue is, isn't it? If you're going to
Yeah.
make a career out of it, you're full time or you're not.
Yeah, and then, but then I felt started feeling like it wasn't actually benefiting the career and the views a little bit. It added engagement and like interest for the dad channel. Like dad was hearting every single comment, and it was like part of the character, so it built mystique, I guess, or intrigue or whatever with the character. But other than that, like me reading every Nathan comment and like Instagram post, it's like it doesn't benefit me. I just need to like get back to like making stuff because like most people who are really successful don't look at any comments. They don't even
No,
care. They just post it and then they move on and make more things. So I'm like, okay, I gotta get more into just making stuff, and the more I make, the better and the happier I'll feel. So that's what this is. This podcast is one of the new things. Talking to people, trying to push this and pushing the Farts channel, which is the new Minecraft rebranded gaming channel. So that and this podcast are my two things I'm trying to like focus on. So hopefully there's billions of comments for me to ignore.
ignore those. Ignore those comments.
I'll
give you
still be
permission to
I'll still
ignore
be
those
reading them,
comments.
but I just won't be hearting all of them because I don't want to show everyone that I'm actually reading them.
Speaking of reading comments, this is a perfect time for me to mention this episode's sponsor. It's my Patreon. That's right, I have Patreon. And if you become a member for $5 at least, you can get into the members only Discord where I will see all of your comments. And if you leave a comment even at a $1 tier on Patreon, I'll see that comment as well because I do read the Patreon and I do read things in the Discord. If you'd like to keep this podcast going and hear me interview other future guests, then please support on Patreon if you're able to. Okay, thanks. Back to the episode.
What were you working on?
Oh, so I teach health and safety now. So I work as well. I'm a registered instructor. I teach people how to drive machinery, forklift trucks, telehandlers, cranes, various things like that. And
Oh, that's really cool. What's the biggest thing you've ever driven?
a 50-ton crane, a gantry crane. It was capable of picking up 50,000 kilos. I've had to go on a B2 counterbalance, which takes you up to a limit of 28,000 kilo lifting capacity.
Wow.
So that's
Heavy
kind of cool.
machinery then.
Yeah, it's different. Every day's different. So I work across the UK. I did Northern Ireland, which is still UK, but I flew at Northern Ireland, which was cool.
Mm-hmm.
And that was to do battery maintenance talks. So I was teaching people who build batteries every day how to maintain and manage a battery system.
Wow.
And, I was like looking at them like, boys, you build these. So I kind of feel a bit redundant being here, but we've got to get you legal.
Yeah, I got to give them like the licenses or whatever, or the certificates, I guess.
Yeah, which is a bit mental when you think about it. It's like, yeah, you boys literally build these every day, but I'm here to teach
tell you how to use what you build.
How to build one of these, because like you got to be safe when you're building one of these, which is ironic. But yeah, so we work. My job's different. It's unique. I deal with different people every single day, and to an element, it's kind of nice because like you've got to. Well, I assume at some point in your adult life you've been in a training course.
Oh yeah, many. Yeah.
So when you go through the training courses and you're greeted with "Good morning, everybody. My name is Robert, and today we're here to talk about this and
Yep.
this and this," and it's incredibly boring. I've been trained like that prior as well, and I don't like it. So part of it is to go in and create a friendly, welcoming environment like this, where you're open to talk, you're free to say what you want. You know what I mean? As long as you're not rude.
Yeah.
If you start being rude, then that's where the problem comes in. But if you come in and you're respectful and polite and you create a welcoming environment where people can come in and learn, but you're not dealing with kids, you're dealing with adults. It's like, look, boys, you've got to be here whether you like it or not because your employers put you here. So
Yep.
come in, have a laugh with me, because if you have a laugh with me, it's going to make my day easier, my job easier. You're going to walk out of here probably with your head less fried than if you were to be like sitting here being negative. And I think it's a nicer way of training people.
Yeah, it seems like you just want people to be real.
Yes, I want people to be safe. Nathan, I want people to be safe, and health and safety doesn't stop. I'm joking. Health and safety never sleeps.
Never.
Never sleeps. I think, yeah, it's always interesting, especially when you turn around and go, I worked with the UK Research Institute, which is that site involved, which is really, really cool. Obviously, can't specify what I was doing down there, but yeah.
Top secret.
Driving big machines.
That's cool.
Non-disclosure agreement. Nathan, you know all too well.
Yeah, for sure. That's a cool job. That's interesting. This is honestly like a great first episode. This was perfect.
You're welcome.
Thank you for being the first guest. Hopefully people enjoyed this and they keep listening and or watching, and hopefully they'll stay tuned for more episodes.
I think to be fair, in all honesty, it's nice to see you still producing different things. And I think as a member of the audience, I can comfortably say it's nice to see that.
Well, thank you. Hopefully it's things people want to see. I know sometimes people just want the same old characters forever and ever, and then they're just going to tune out, which is understandable if it's not what they like. But hopefully if people like me enough to stick around and might find something that they do like. This is more like a passive, casual kind of like, easy content. It's like kind of nice to put out stuff that's not like super, doesn't involve me breaking the bank or breaking my body and filming a million things and editing a ton and getting actors and making props. It's like, this is something that I can do easily, and I do enjoy equally as to filmmaking and like, character work.
Yeah.
So hopefully people will find it and like it.
How many bones have you broken?
I've broken 2 bones technically. One, I guess I broke my thumb, sort of like knocked it out of its socket and broke it a little bit running up the stairs. I whacked it into the banister as I ran up really fast, and I broke my thumb. And then I shattered my heel as Keith Abacary like 10 years ago. So I broke 2 bones.
Was that the stair one?
No, it was at a video game convention. I jumped off a 14-foot ledge to start the show, like dropped down from the ceiling. I wanted people to be like, what the heck? And I shattered my foot as I did it. And then I did the show for an hour on one foot and went to the hospital. And they're like, you broke your entire foot, shattered to pieces.
I just thinking anything else is like, I've been through that, and we can actually relate to each other on that. So I broke my leg. You know how you skateboard. I've seen you skateboard on videos before. Yep. Like little quarter pipes. Yeah. Like a tiny little one, right?
Just like a little ramp.
Like a tiny little ramp, like a little fire. This is the most interesting thing I've got, bone-wise. I dropped in off a tiny little ramp, and I hadn't done it in maybe 5-6 years, and it was my first time on a deck in 5-6 years as well, and I put on a substantial amount of weight from like being a skinny person who used to skate to being like a fat man who got a skateboard. I came down this quarter pipe, right, and when I came down with such speed and such like I was so adamant. I was going, I'm gonna drop in here. I'm gonna do this. I can still drop in. I've got this. Funny thing, when you get older and you haven't skateboarded in a while, don't drop in when you've not practiced or loosened up or anything.
Yeah.
Hit the bottom of the ramp, right? Skateboard went straight forward.
Maybe go at it and turn first.
Oh no, I didn't. I just went. I just full sent it.
Went from the top.
Yeah. Went straight down, just dropped straight down. And skateboard went one way, my leg went the other, right? And I did the splits. Now, I am not built to do the splits.
Yeah.
Skateboard went one way, leg went the other. I shattered my ankle.
My gosh.
Complete break. So my ankle is held together by, or it was at the time. Now the metal that's in there is now fused, obviously, because it's been there for such a long time. I have 2 screws and a wire that held my ankle together. Like, I was just thinking.
That's surprising just from like, because I've had that same thing where your skateboard's under your foot and it pulls you and your other foot's stuck to the ground. But I just shattered like the ankle.
Yeah.
That's crazy. You must have really stretched it.
It just went full on. Like, it just went. And I was like, no, that's brutal, man.
Wow. Have you skateboarded since?
Yeah, honestly enough, actually, yeah. Sarah and I went to Cardiff the other year because obviously living in Wales, I should really visit the capital every once in a while. Sarah and I went to Cardiff and we were doing the touristy things. We went down Cardiff Bay, and I was like, you know what, this would be so much quicker and better on skateboards. So downstairs, I've got a skateboard sitting downstairs. It's hanging up on a wall. I need to get back out and ride it. Sarah's got one as well. And we rode them down Cardiff Bay, and we found like a little skate park at the end of it that was full of children. I went, I am not going to do that because I feel weird because I might fall.
Fall on a child.
I am not going to do that because I do not want to kill a child while I'm on holiday by squishing
I mean,
it
you
from
are
falling
you
off
are
my
a health and
skateboard.
safety man, so it probably was smart of you, avoiding a crisis.
Oh, can I ask you a question as well? What classic car have you got now, by the way? Because you seem to have an amazing choice in classic cars.
Well, I'll say this: I'm not a car person, so I don't know a lot about classic cars. I just like this one specific car.
Because it's the BM, isn't
It's
it?
the BMW. Yeah, I like the BMW 2002, which for the listeners, it's a model. It's not the year. And I currently have the one I had, the orange one from Neutral, was a 72. I currently have, because I'm trying to finish that movie next year, and I needed a car. I have a 1600, which is the model that came out before the 2002, and this is a 1970. I have a 1970 1600, which basically looks like the same car. You wouldn't really know the difference. It's just like engine stuff and bodies that's slightly different in spots, like the grill's kind of different. But right now I have a white 1970 1600 that I'll be painting, and it's like I'm currently having it all fixed up and we're getting ready for the movie for next year.
I like that. I look forward to seeing Neutral Part 2. I adored Neutral, the first one.
Thank you.
Fair, I remember saying as well on a stream, odd enough, I promise, one more story. Well, two more. One, I'm on eBay. I just looked up a BMW 2002. Somebody's selling a completely trashed one for 1,800.
Wow, that's a good deal.
Requires welding.
Well, I guess if it depends on the work, I guess, but still, $1,000 for a whole car.
Oh no, it's rusted. No, this is
okay.
trashed.
So it's basically you're getting it for parts.
Oh yeah, 100%. I basically just bought myself recently.
Oh, so you bought it?
No.
Oh,
I bought
okay.
a Mazda MX-5 recently.
Oh, okay. That's cool. Well, it's been awesome talking to you. This is a very solid first episode. I can't thank you enough for doing this.
It's been a pleasure. I appreciate you taking the time, man. I appreciate you asking us all. To be honest, it's honestly, it's a real pleasure. And
Same
hopefully
here.
at some point in real life, we'll meet at something somewhere or another.
Someday
and,
it'll happen.
Yeah, we'll get a smoothie.
I like it. I'm down. Well, thanks, dude. This has been amazing. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, man. Thank you very much.
All right.
I really appreciate being on.
Bye-bye.
Bye, bud.
Well, there you have it, the very first episode of Conversations with You. Thanks again to Mel out in Wales for being my very first guest. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I got a bunch more episodes coming soon. And if you yourself would like to be a guest on Conversations with You, having a conversation with me, having a conversation with you, send an email to conversationswithyoupodcast@gmail.com. Send a message saying who you are and maybe something about what you do or just an interesting tidbit, and I'll try to get through all of them and find some potential new guests. So, thanks again for listening. I hope you liked it, and stay tuned for more episodes. Goodbye.